Hello. A bunch of people have asked me, whether on here, on YouTube, or on Discord, about what's a good place to start playing solo RPGs. So a suggestion that I give sometimes is White Box Fantastic Medieval Adventure Game. This is retro clone of OD&D, which is original Dungeons and Dragons, made way back in 1974. It's 2024 as of the recording of this video, so that's a long time ago, that's 50 years. I'm not playing it for nostalgia, I wasn't born then, but there's something about the simplicity of OD&D and how the stats don't matter as much, and I just like it quite a bit. So I'll highly recommend this, especially since it's so cheap on Amazon. I think it's about 10 bucks or something, and you get all the rules that you need to play. You get monsters, spells, you get everything you need, which is very, very nice. But once you get a rule set, it then becomes a question of what generators do I use. So you could go crazy. Like, I wouldn't recommend it, but you could use like Tome of Adventure Design. You could use this extremely thick book that can probably kill somebody if thrown on their head. You could use a bunch of other generators, there's smaller ones out there. You could still use Maze Rats, you could use Perilous Wilds. But what if you were constrained on space, or you just wanted to keep things as simple as you can? So what I'd recommend is something like White Box. I usually use Delving Deeper, that's my OD&D clone of choice. But I think White Box is just more accessible, it's a bit easier to read, and yeah, I mean, whichever one you want to use. But I will usually pair it with this, and this is something that I made. It's an OD&D combat hack called Chaos Reigns. You don't need to use OD&D with this. The only reason I'm using it in this video is because I like it. I mean, I made this for myself. So that's what I'm going to be using as a combat hack. Just, you know, to get it out of the way. We won't be rolling d20s for combat, we'll be rolling d6s. However, in addition to that, you need some generators like I said, and that is where the topic of this video comes into play. These are by Perplexing Ruins. He's made a whole bunch of amazing stuff. He's made Fallen, he's made this, he's made a fantastic pocket-sized RPG called Oracle, and he makes tremendous art. He's just an all-around fantastic contributor to the scene, and I really like the stuff he does. This was his attempt at trying to condense down all the generators you need and everything you basically need to play onto, well, one sheet of paper, both sides. And his initial reason for doing this, I've talked to him about it, is that he wanted to have something that you can play while in bed. So if you don't have dice, you can use your phone or some kind of other method of rolling dice, and you can just have a very quick exploration adventure. Or alternatively, there's also one that he made for dungeons. So we'll be giving both of these a look, and we'll be trying it out. So normally for Chaos Reigns, I would use my own character sheets. So this is the character sheet, but as you can see, there's a lot of space here, and there's this whole space for the portrait. You don't need all that. I'm gonna just use the space here for the characters. So I'll introduce each of them. So firstly, we have Grunk, the level 1 fighter. He used to be a thief. They have a two-handed sword, which allows you to attack another time on a kill. They have Chainmail, which is TN of 8. They have Lantern, Oil Flask, and a Grappling Hook. That might come in useful, especially since they were a thief in their earlier life. We also have Ronald, the Cleric, level 1. They were a woodsman, so possibly that could come in handy if we are going through the woods and something comes up. They have a mace, which is good against armor. They have plate and shield, and they have a rope 50 feet and a wooden cross. Darks, the level 1 magic user, used to be a librarian. They rolled a 6 on their HP, they're pretty tanky. They have a staff that allows them to defend a bit better, which is good because they get no armor as a magic user. And finally we have Jess, a level 1 fighter, used to be a mercenary. They have a pole arm, allows them to reach even from the second row, so they can basically get an attack in, and allows them to defend an adjacent ally as well. And they have plate armor. They can't get a shield because they are having a two-handed weapon. And they also have a short bow just in case we need to use that. They have a crowbar as well. And for everybody, we had enough money to get some riding horses, which is good because they actually go... I wrote 4H, That means 4 hexes, so they can go 4 hexes in a day. So, now that we have our party assembled, let's go through how I'm going to run this. So there's a few ways you could do this. You could be exploring an unexplored region. You could be starting from a town. Maybe you can put it in the center, and you can get a quest of some kind, and find some kind of ruins. Since I do want to incorporate some kind of dungeon crawling into this to show the other solo gaming sheet, I think I'm going to go for the latter here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a city right down there. I know you probably can't see this, but there are hexes very, very lightly printed onto the sheet here. I don't think you can see it, but this is going to be our starting area. I'm just going to draw a little bit of a house to indicate there's a village there. I'm going to label it 1. So that's our village. And here on the back of the sheet, you can see there's a bunch more generators. There are character names and traits and stuff if you need them. I believe there's also a settlement generator. Yeah, there we go. So we can roll on each of these. Let's see here. So we get a 2 and a 2. So we got rock, thorn, or great, and moor, brook, or plain. Thornmoor sounds cool. So we're starting from the village of Thornmoor. There we go. Now, you need a starting quest. So there's already a quest list here. So there's directions as well. Roll d6 to determine which direction and d4 to determine how far away. So we'll deal with that when we actually generate out a quest, which is now. We're going to first roll on what the general quest is. So 5. Explore or discover. And I'm going to roll again. 4. A temple. Okay, there you go. So our quest is to explore a temple of some sort. I'm actually going to roll a few more times. I will recommend that. I will recommend rolling maybe 3 times and then figuring out which one you want to go with. But before that, let's actually do what he said here and roll d6 to determine direction and d4 to determine how far away. So when they say roll d6 for direction, these are hexes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can basically randomize the direction that way. And I get a 2. So it's in the northeast. So then I just get a d4. I get a 2. So it's going to be here. I'm going to say that the temple is going to be right here. And I'm not sure what I'm going to draw for that. Maybe some kind of spire. I think that will work well. Yeah, let's go with that. So this is the temple. There we go. Looks good. What is inside the temple? I think an easy way to do that is to just roll for a description. So I'm going to roll 3 times on each of these. So it is 5, dark, another time, perilous, and it is... oh, that's another 5, 3 5s in a row. Did. So I'm assuming that this temple is a tomb of some sort, dedicated to the dead. Dark, perilous, and did. So I think the idea is that there were some kind of rumors that undead have risen up, and we're supposed to explore the temple to see whether that's true. So I'm just gonna do a bracket here that says undead. Then we're just gonna roll up a few other quests here. Let's just roll up one more real quick. I'll recommend rolling 3 and then just choosing, but in the interest of time, we're just gonna do 2. So deliver, let's see here. I got a 6. Deliver a creature. What kind of creature? So this is a good chance to use the oracle. They have on the front page here an oracle that is very simple. 1 is no end, 2 is no, 3 is no but, 4 is yes but, 5 is yes, and 6 is yes and. Obviously, if the ends and the buts don't make sense, you can just use 1 to 3 is no and 4 to 6 is yes. So I'm going to ask, is it an animal? 6, yes, and. So I'm just going to roll on the animal chart here. We're supposed to deliver a giant lizard. Okay. Deliver giant lizard. And I'm assuming there's somebody to pick it up at some place. I'm just going to roll where that is. So again, d6. 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then a d4. So that's the southwest. 3. So 1, 2, 3. So we're basically going to have to deliver this lizard to somebody in 3. I'm going to ask another question. Is it a settlement that we have to deliver a lizard to. Okay, so I got a yes and. So we can just generate our settlement from here. And yeah, we can, maybe the concerns will help us. So we'll roll d6 and we get 6. And the concern is blight. So what my thought here is that in this town here, which we have yet to name, this lizard has some sort of body parts or some kind of toxin within them that allows them to research into a cure for this kind of blight that is plaguing the land. That's just something that I thought up. So deliver giant lizard for blight research. And then we're just going to add that as a location. So this is the undead temple, and this third one, let's generate out another settlement name. 4 and 3, Mernhaven. Let's go with that. Okay, so there's a variety of quests that we can choose from. I'm actually going to go with the temple one, but I just wanted to show that it can be fairly easy to generate out these quests, and using the other tables in this, you can flesh them out in greater detail. So, we're supposed to explore this temple to the northeast. It's a fairly short journey, as you can see. We can just, hit there, especially since our traveling time is 4 hexes in a day. However, what I'm going to do is I want to actually show off some of the tables that you can use here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say that we're going to do a bit of exploration first, maybe scout the area around the temple. If you are playing this, that isn't necessarily something you have to do, but I do want to show off the tables, so I'm going to do that. Firstly, I'm going to take a look all around us though. What kind of terrain is in the area surrounding the settlement of, what was it again? Of Thornmoor, yeah. What are the terrain types? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll a terrain type for Thornmoor. I'm gonna get 4, which is, it's in the mountains, which is interesting. I'm just gonna draw some mountains right there. There you go. And then we're going to use that to figure out what is in the surrounding hexes in terms of terrain. So I'm going to get 2 here. As you can see, 1 to 4 is the same kind of terrain. 5 to 6 is new terrain. So in the north here, we're just going to get more mountains. In the northeast is also going to be more mountains. In the southeast is going to be something new. So we can roll the terrain for that. And we'll refer to this chart. So there's going to be woods, so it's going to be a wooded area. Let's try south. A new kind of terrain as well, and it's going to be hills. Southwest, mountains. And finally, northwest, 4 mountains. So I'm getting an idea here that this kind of thing is a mountain range. Maybe it's on the edge of a forest, maybe not. I'm going to say that our adventurers, Grunk, Ronald, Darks, and Jez have not really left the town all that much. Maybe they've been out on small expeditions, but not really beyond much of the town's borders. So they're going to try to get to here, but they're first going to scout out the area surrounding it. So let's start our adventure. Now, for Whitebox, there are some hex crawling rules that you can use. Like I said, I want to keep things as simple and contained as possible. So we're just going to use this. Every time we go into a new hex, we will roll the explore die, and then we'll see what happens. So I'm going to go towards the north here, and then I'm going to go towards the northeast and try to kind of circle around the area and try to get as much information as I can about the temple before heading in. So I'm going to go towards the north, and I'm going to roll the explore die, so there's nothing there. So I wouldn't roll the terrain surrounding the area for every hex that I go into. I'll just do it for that first town hex. The reason I do this is purely because I want to keep things fast and moving at a good clip. But if you wanted to, you could just, generate out the surrounding region as you play. But let's say I'm going towards the northeast now. Firstly, what is the terrain like? So it's the same, so it continues to be mountainous terrain. Alright, is there anything in this location? So we got 4, which is Omen. So we go to the Omen chart here and we roll on that. We get 2, we get weather. So I'm assuming this to be some kind of nasty rainstorm. And we've traveled 2 hexes by now. It's 4 hexes to end of the day. So in the middle of the day, a nasty rainstorm starts coming down and lightning strikes. I'm going to say that this makes it easier for us to get surprised and for enemies to be surprised by us. So normally for White Box and for other games that are OD&D like or BX like, there are rules for surprise. So usually it's a 2 in 6 chance, so I'm gonna make it a 3 in 6 chance during this day of extreme rain. So that's how these kind of small things like weather or whatever can actually impact how your encounters go. It can actually have a mechanical effect rather than just being something that just happens and then you move on. So this horrible kind of storm is going on, and it's going to be a bit harder to see clearly, so it's going to be easier for everybody to get surprised. So we are now down to 2 more hexes to explore before we have to camp out for the night. So I'm going to go towards the northeast and roll the terrain die. It's new terrain, and we get hills. So the mountains are now giving way to hills, which is interesting. I'm gonna roll the explore die, and we get nothing. And then we can move one more time before having to actually make camp for the night. So we're gonna do that one more time. We're gonna roll for terrain. It's new type of terrain, and we get swamp. Okay, so behind this large temple tower thing is a swamp. That's interesting. That could imply something about the undead within that temple. But let's see, is there anything that we find within the swamp? So I got nothing. So we're gonna have to make camp for the night. In something as simple as this, you do have to kind of figure out some kind of way of proceduralizing certain things, like for example making camp. What I will just do is I will just roll one more time since we are spending some time in here and trying to recuperate. There is a possibility for danger to happen, and if it does, it happens while we are basically not that ready for it. I'm gonna say we have a night watch. Each of them are gonna take turns watching, but there's a chance that we might be taken off guard. So let's see. And that's a 6, that's a danger. Perfect. We go to danger here and we roll for what it is, and I got a 5, which is a hostile creature. If you see hostile here, it says encountered by terrain. We are currently in the swamps, so we're gonna roll for that. 4, unnatural. So we're gonna go to the unnatural table here, and we're gonna get a zombie. Okay. Looks like we don't even need to go into the undead temple. So there's a zombie, HD of 1. There's AC/attack here, but I'm actually just going to use the stats from White Box. So let's see what zombies are here. It does have 1, armor class of 8, and that doesn't seem that good. How many of these zombies do we run into? So there's a few ways that you could do this. So annoyingly, White Box doesn't really give how many of the creature actually appears. However, what you could do is you could check how far it is from a settlement. And this is a rule that I found somewhere online. But if it's within 4 hexes of a settlement, you can make the maximum number of encounters that you find limited to that. So that's 1, 2, 3. So it's going to be a d6, I'm just gonna say. Then, if it's a 4 or more, then I'll just limit it to a 3. There are ways that you can find how many are actually encountered, and delving deeper has stuff for that as well. But for now, let's just keep things simple and just say d6 and cap out at 3, which is good because we got a 6. So there's going to be 3 zombies that basically approach us. This could be bad. So what I'm going to do, since this is a nighttime encounter and we're in the swamps and we're camping out here, I'm going to say that there's an increased likelihood of us being surprised. It's raining as well. So instead of being a 2 in 6 chance, it's a 3 in 6 chance because of the rain, and it's a 4 in 6 chance because we are being ambushed at night. So if I get a 4 or lower, we are basically ambushed and we're surprised. So I got 4, which means we are surprised. Are they surprised? So that's a 3 in 6 chance. Oh, they are also surprised. So if both parties were not surprised, there'll be 2d6 times 10 yards between them. Since both parties are surprised in this case, we're going to take a d6, times that by 10, and that's how many yards they are going to be away before the encounter occurs. 5 times 10, that's 50 yards. So 50 yards away are these horrible, stinking zombies. There are 3 of them, and they look pretty hostile, or do they? We don't know yet because we haven't rolled their reaction yet. So there's a reaction table here, but I'm just going to use the reaction table from Whitebox, which is, I believe, over here. So I'm gonna roll a 2d6 and uncertain. So the zombies don't know if they can take us, necessarily speaking. Now, the reason I rolled the reaction roll is to show you that not every encounter has to be hostile. They seem uncertain of us and they don't know if they can take us, and that makes it a very interesting situation. They're currently 50 yards away. It's safe to say that we can basically outrun them and avoid the encounter. So that's an example of how three things, surprise, reaction, and distance, can make a huge difference in how the encounter goes. We see these bog zombies coming out from the marsh. They're far enough away, they don't seem that sure of what to do, and we're able to get away from them. Let's continue on. So the next day we wake up, and I just realized the magic user has not had their spell prepared, and they should. So I'm gonna put down their spell as sleep. I think that's a safe one to use. So they're gonna wake up in the morning, they're gonna go over to the south, and we're gonna roll for the terrain again. So that's going to be a 4, it's gonna be the same type. It's gonna be more swamp. I'm gonna roll the exploration die. Get a 1, so nothing. We come down here. Terrain is the same. So this whole part is just a bunch of swamp. And exploration die. 2, nothing. So we've explored this area fully, and now that we have some information about what the temple could possibly hold for us, we can then enter into the temple. Like I said, you don't have to do it this way. The main reason I did this was to show off how all of these tables can very easily make a wilderness exploration journey simple and fast. You can see there's a lot of stuff that we did not use, like traveling encounters or discoveries. So there's a lot of stuff that you can find on your own. And of course, you can modify these tables or augment them with other tables of your own devising. Or from, maze rats or perilous wilds or whatever the case might be. This is just a very good base. So we've moved 2 hexes. We are going to go directly into the temple, with the knowledge that there will probably be horrible swamp creatures. Actually, will there be? Let's see what the terrain is like on the temple itself. 2. So it is in the swamp. Okay. So this temple is a swampy temple. Gotcha. Okay, our mission was basically to explore the temple, which we know to be filled with undead, and the surroundings. So we've explored the surroundings, we're heading into the temple. I'm gonna leave this sheet behind here and switch to the dungeon crawling sheet. We know that the type is temple, so we don't need to roll that. As for the theme, let's roll it. Let's see what it is. Criminal. Okay, interesting. So in addition to there being possibly some kind of undead element to it, there's also a criminal element to it. So these might have been bandits who tried to rob the temple and then were basically cursed into this life of undead. Let's just roll some adjectives. 2, of hidden or of desperate. I like desperate. Of desperate, ravens or deaths. Desperate deaths, I think, is good. They're trying to basically find a way to die permanently, but until they do, they are basically crazed zombies without much control over their base impulses, which is to eat brains. As for the size, let's just roll that up, because our goal is to explore this entire area, right? I'm just going to roll and see what we get. We got a 1, so it's 1d6 plus 1 rooms, and we got a 1 again, so that's 2 rooms. Now, normally if I were playing myself, I'll just let this fly and just say there's 2 rooms. However, since I am trying to show off the dungeon crawling sheet, I will instead roll again. And hope I don't get it. 1. I got 2, that's an improvement. But no, I think I'm just going to actually say it's gonna be 4 plus 1 rooms, 5 rooms. I think that's reasonable. So we're gonna write this down. Okay, what's the entrance like? We'll just roll on that. 3. Okay, so we're entering the temple from the south. kind of like so. And also I like to do a bit of hatching, just to, keep it looking kind of spiffy, kind of cool. There you go. Of course you don't need to do this, I just like to do it. I usually also actually outline the borders of it, but I'll do that later. So for now, what do we find if we explore this room? So you can notice that the explore die is quite different than the one in the wilderness sheet. So we'll actually roll that, and we get 6, which is a danger. And it is a monster tier 1. What is it? So tier 1 monsters, there's humanoids, creatures, and unnatural. Oh yeah, before I forget, I should probably note that you can put the hex number here, and you can put a site name, which is the... what was it again? The Temple of Desperate Deaths. Desperate Deaths. There we go. Okay. And then there's a place to take notes as well. So, knowing what we know about the place, I'm going to say it's a humanoid of some sort. 5, we get a snake person. That's interesting. How many of them are there? Okay, I'm just gonna roll a d6 for this. There's 3 of them, which is bad. These snake people have HD of 3, and they have an AC of 13, which is ascending AC, so that will be 6 AC, and that will convert into 8. I'm just gonna bracket this up so I don't forget. So there's 3 of these snake people that appear, and this is bad because HD 3 means that they could pretty easily take us out. This might be a short adventure. Are these snake creatures also undead? I'm gonna use the oracle from the previous sheet. 5. Yes. So they are undead snake things. There's 3 of them. Perfect. We'll roll for surprise. This is gonna be us, and this is gonna be them. So we are surprised. They are not. Now, here's the question. How far away do they see us at? So one of us is surprised, which means it's d6 times 10 feet, not yards, instead of 2d6, which will be the case if none of us were surprised. That's 20 feet. That's not very good. That's pretty close. They're gonna be able to come in and make an attack. And there's 3 of them. I'm gonna say that 2 of them can stand abreast. Do they have spears is the question, I guess. And if they do, that is bad. 5, yes. Okay, all 3 can attack because the second rank, which has spears, can easily stab at us. So as we're turning this corner, we just get a bunch of them waiting for us here. And they surprise us. And we get stabbed. Now, this is pretty bad. This is actually very bad because they have surprised us, so they get, turn to just do whatever they want to do. I'm still going to roll for reaction, so it might be the case that, they might not be hostile. You can see there's a reaction table here. Again, I'm not going to use this, I'm just going to use the white box rules. And that's going to be a 5, which I remember in white box is possibly hostile. I take this to mean that if they have any chance at all to gain the upper hand, they would, which means that we get stabbed. Now, I should have established a marching order up front, but I'm just gonna say it's Grunk, Ronald, and Jez and Darks are at the back. Jez has a pole arm. I'm gonna say that he's defending, let's say Grunk. So, they're only gonna be able to hit the front rank, but 2 attacks are going to go on either Grunk or Ronald. So, 1 to 3 is Grunk, 4 to 6 is Ronald. Grunk, it was nice knowing you. So how the Chaos Rain system works is fairly simple. All they need to do is roll the 2d6 and try to hit the target number. So our target number in this case is 8, but it's increased by 1 because Jazz is using their pole arm to try to defend us. That's still not very great, so we're gonna roll 2d6. And if you get a 9, which they do, they got a 10, they're gonna be able to deal d6 damage because it's a spear. They deal 1 damage, which is good. So Grunk basically gets a cut across his shoulder as one of the serpent people, or snake people, are able to stab at him. Another one is gonna attack, and that is going to be a 9. They needed to hit a 9, they are able to attack, and they roll a 2. They're being very lucky here. Grunk is now at 2 HP. Looks like he might die soon. Ronald is also gonna get an attack, and he only has 2 HP, so they need to hit a 10, which they do not, and that's their turn. Their surprise action. That was not great. That didn't go too well for us. We could try run, but our mission is to explore the area. Well, firstly, we're gonna roll for initiative. Again, the blue die is gonna be us, the red die is gonna be them. And we got a 2 and they got a 1, so we're able to go first. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna try to... Let's see what can we do. We have a magic user, they have sleep. I believe... Let's look at sleep actually. I didn't want to use it this early, but we might have to. Sleep. The sleep puts creatures into enchanted slumber, no saving throws permitted. It can affect a number of creatures based on their hit dice. So it can, according to the rules here, affect 1d6 of these creatures because their hit dice is 3. So, well, I have no choice. Darks is gonna let off a magical spell and put all 3 of them to sleep. Fantastic. Okay, so all 3 of them basically go to sleep. The Grunk is going to go around stabbing them through the brain and making sure they're fully dead, and we do not have our sleep spell anymore. That is pretty bad. Oh well. We're still gonna explore the rest of the area. What we could do, and what I would actually do if I were playing this normally, would be I will go out, right back to town. I will run out, get my spell re-prepped, and come back in and try another day. But again, I want to show off these sheets as quickly as I can. So let's just say that they used up their spell. And also Grunk is at 2 HP. Not very good, and they should probably retreat, but we're gonna keep going. So, what's the next corridor? Or room? So how this works is you roll this up. I got a 6, which means a room. And then you roll another d6. And I got this. So there's a door there. And there's another door right there. Again, I'm gonna hatch it up. I find this hatching very relaxing. It's a large part of making maps for me. Okay, so let's see, what do we find here? I'm gonna roll a d6 and hope we don't get a danger again. I got a 1, which is nothing, which is, you know, good in this case. So we don't find anything here. We have a choice to go into either of these rooms. We're just gonna go with the north room here. Well, is the door stuck? 1, it's unlocked, so we can just go through. And we're gonna roll for what we find next, which might be a corridor or room. It's a corridor, and it's going to be this one. Okay, cool. What do we find? 4. We find a discovery of some kind. Okay, what's the discovery? Let's see, 3 is a feature of some kind, and the feature is... feature is over here. So we roll that. And we get a pool. Okay, so we find a large kind of pool here. Interesting. We don't really find anything else other than that, but there might be treasure in the pool, or there might be a monster. So I'm gonna say it like this. If I'm gonna search the pool, 1 to 2, there's nothing. 3 to 4, there's treasure. 5 to 6, a zombie comes out. So let's see. I am going to take the risk because we want to make the most out of this adventure, so hopefully we don't roll a zombie, we roll the zombie. Okay, the zombie comes out. I'm going to say it's pretty much just 1 zombie, but let's see. Neither of us are surprised by this. Let's roll initiative. We win, and Grunk, Ronald, and Jazz are going to try to stab this thing to death. I believe that a zombie had a 7 TN, which means that hits, and that's a great sword, so it's 2d6 take the higher, and that's 5. Let's roll how much HP this zombie had. It was 3. The zombie dies. So, not the greatest thing. We could have gotten some treasure out of that, but we didn't, but oh well. Worth a try at least. Let's keep going. Gonna roll the next room here. And again, there's only 5 rooms, so 1, 2, 3. Once we get this, I'm gonna say that leads to a dead end. So it's gonna be... I'm gonna say it's a room actually, because we know that there's only gonna be 5 rooms. So it's gonna lead to this. Okay, cool. Strange looking temple a little bit. That's okay. Let's see what we find in here. we find a danger. And it is a monster tier 1. Again, I'm going to go for... Actually, it could be an unnatural creature. It's probably an unnatural creature. I don't know why I rolled on humanoid the last time. We're just gonna say that the snake people could also be part of it, since we did roll that up. But let's roll on unnatural because that makes more sense, and we get a dark creeper, which is HD2. I'm just gonna roll a d6 for how many of them there are. I hope there's not too many. There's one of them. Let's see whether any of us are surprised or not. The enemy is surprised, we are not. How far are we away from this thing? That's gonna be 20 feet. We can charge in and deal an attack right off the bat. This dark, spider-like creature creeps across the floor, seemingly unaware of us. Grunk just goes in and starts swinging. So, again, the AC is 12. The way I'm converting these, by the way, is 19 minus 12 is 7, so that's 7 AC, and 7 converts to 7 in my system as well. There you go. So we just need to hit a 7 in order to attack it. We don't. Does Ronald do it? Ronald is barely able to attack. They have a mace, which doesn't help in this regard, but they're going to be able to do d6 damage. They do 1 damage. How much HP did this thing have? I have to roll 2 dice, actually. Oh, that might have been a mistake. We should have left it alone. It's got 8 HP, now has 7 HP. Jazz is gonna be able to do an attack because they have a pole arm. And yeah, they're gonna just try. Darks can't really do anything from where they're at. But let's see. Oh no. Jazz is unable to hit as well. Oh boy. That's our surprise round over. Initiative. Okay, we win initiative. I think we're just gonna attack it again. We might want to run, but I think we can beat this thing if we're lucky. So I'm just going to roll. Oh! Double 6s, there you go. So it's gonna be 2d6, take the higher. So we got 5. 5 damage on that monster. It is down to 1 HP. Ronald is gonna have a go at it. 5, 6, 7. And that thing is dead. So the Dark Creeper is dead. It was a lone creature. Did it have any treasure? And we're gonna try looting the corpse here, which we didn't try for the previous creatures. They were all just skeletons and just remains, but you know, there could be something here. So we're just gonna roll. 2 and 5 gives us an all. Okay. It's a thing used for piercing holes, right? That seems pretty useless. We're just gonna leave that behind. Oh, I think I know what it is. The Dark Creeper I said was kind of like a spider-like creature, right? So I'm assuming it's just one of its legs that we chopped off. That's cool. Alright, so we're almost done exploring this area, which is very nice. We're gonna be able to backtrack here and backtrack here. I am actually going to roll for encounter checks. Normally speaking, if you want to use the rules of White Box, you still have to make an encounter check every time you enter, you know, some amount of distance. However, for this we're simplifying it a bit, but if you're backtracking, what I would recommend is every 2 rooms, you just roll an encounter check, and if you get a 1, you get a monster. I got a 2, so I almost did get a monster, but no dice. Okay, last room. Let's see what it is. 5. So we gotta flip that around. Let's go like that. Okay, something like that, I think. Okay, final room. What do we find in here? 3. Discovery. 4. Item. Okay. We got 4, which is some kind of tools. So what I'm thinking is that this is a ritualistic site that has some of the tools that was being used to raise these creatures from the dead. And yeah, I think that's enough information for us to report back. I forgot to roll on the door, actually. So I'm gonna roll for it this time, and if it's in fact locked or trapped, we're gonna suffer the effects of it. It's a 1. It's unlocked. It's fine. So we go back through. We're gonna roll one more time for an encounter. If we get a 1, we don't get a 1, but if we got a 1, then there will have been a creature. And there you go. That's our first quest done. We explored the Temple of the Desperate Deaths. And we were able to report back our findings. Well, that is if we are able to survive the trip back to the town. But yeah, this is completely optional, but I like to outline the rooms just so it has a nicer presentation because I'm a sucker for that kind of thing. But as you can see, these gaming sheets are really useful, especially if you're just getting into the hobby. It's useful to try to, limit your tables, limit your options, so that you don't get analysis paralysis, right? And it's a good, simple way to actually start playing. And over time, you can add in your own tables. You can modify things to be more the way you want. You can even modify the existing tables on here, make your own versions. I think Perplexing Ruins has done an amazing job with this. And it's something that I've recommended, I know, in another video of mine. I've covered it before on the Dungeon Generators video. But I really wanted to show how good this can be just on its own. Notice that I didn't really use that much in terms of generators other than the stuff on here and the rules. And also notice that there was a lot of stuff that we didn't end up using. I actually forgot to use the water or weather tables. But there's a lot of stuff here like discoveries that we didn't find, a lot of dangers, and it can create this kind of very interesting story. And again, if after a while you get bored, you find that the tables are not enough, you can always augment them yourself. But by that time, hopefully you will have gotten some experience learning to do some solo roleplay on your own. And I think solo roleplaying is a skill that you kind of have to develop. It's very fun. It's very rewarding in my opinion, especially if you are also a GM. However, I do think there is an adjustment period, and especially if you're coming in from just playing group games or having never played an RPG before, it can be kind of tough. So again, highly recommend these sheets. They will be in the description below. Check out Perplexing Ruin stuff. Support them on Patreon. They make a lot of amazing stuff. I would also highly recommend their campaign notebooks. And yeah, I think that's about it. One last thing I'd like to address is there's not been that many videos recently, and I haven't been doing any live streams that much recently either. I've still been playing solo on my own, but I've been incredibly sick in numerous different ways, and the doctors told me I needed to rest. I tried to settle down a bit. I tried not to do too many things at once. Still doing a lot of drawing commissions and stuff like that. But hopefully, once the year gets going, I can produce more videos, and hopefully I can help you guys a lot more. Let me know if you liked the video. I hope it helped you, and goodbye.